The Afghan soldier who shot and killed Australian infantryman Lance Corporal Andrew Jones in Afghanistan last month has himself been shot dead during a security operation. The development was announced by the Defence Minister Stephen Smith on the same day that the United States was forced to confirm that it's involved in talks with the Taliban after a decade of fighting that's killed thousands of foreign servicemen, including 28 Australians. In a moment, I'll be speaking to the Defence Minister Stephen Smith, but first, this report from Peter Lloyd.
Army cook Andrew Jones didn't die fighting the Taliban. He was shot dead by a supposed ally, an Afghan soldier on guard duty at a jointly run patrol base in the Chora Valley. The manhunt for his killer ended overnight.
Shafiq Ullah was killed by a coalition special forces operation, primarily United States partnered with Afghan National Army. There was a limited Australian involvement, but I'm not proposing to detail that or detail the circumstances of the operation, as I don't, in the normal course of events, comment on operational detail.
The betrayal of Corporal Jones and the deaths of so many Australian soldiers has been slowly eating away at public support for staying in Afghanistan, with opinion polls running more and more in favour of pulling out. After nearly a decade of fighting the Taliban, there is no longer talk of a military victory, and now the Americans have revealed that they are talking to the Taliban.
Well, I think there's been outreach on the part of a number of countries, including the United States. I would say that these contacts are very preliminary at this point.
The only time or the only way in which the Taliban will come to the table is when they come to the conclusion that they cannot win militarily.
Today, the Defence Minister was careful not to raise expectations.
I think we're a long way from seeing a political settlement, a very long way.
Talking to the enemy may seem like a paradox, one that runs the risk of undermining the diggers' sense of mission and purpose. But not so, according to one of the Defence Force's former top officers. Retired General Jim Molan says it all makes sense to the soldiers.
I think they can see that the whole aim of our strategy for at least the last 18 months has been to force the Taliban to the negotiating table. There's an old saying that I think our soldiers understand, and that is that you can't kill your way to success in a counterinsurgency, but you can kill your way to forcing people to negotiate with you.
It's not clear who the Americans are talking to, but Jim Molan is sure about what they need to be talking about.
The West must insist on a ceasefire, that the West must insist that the Taliban accept the Constitution, that they join the political process, that they step away from al-Qaeda, and that they make al-Qaeda information known to the Karzai government. Now, if you can go into negotiations on that basis, then the Taliban are no longer Taliban, they're just Afghans who have come to the table.
That the Americans are the ones who initiated the talks is perhaps a bad sign. The Taliban has always had time on its side, while the Americans don't. It's been a long and costly war, and a president with his eye on re-election is set to decide how many US troops will start leaving for good next month. That will put pressure on Australia's government to reveal the pace and manner of its exit strategy. Peter Lloyd, Lateline.